Well, good morning, everybody. This is Dr. Tom Schlueter with today's Tom's Take. Yesterday, on Wednesday, I had a couple of crazy revelations from the Lord. One was early in the morning before we did our morning prayer call, and the other one was in the midst of our war room prayers here at Kingdom Gate. Let me just share briefly the first one before the prayer room because I want to get to the second one first, actually, and then come back to this second one. The Lord just simply brought the phrase up to me, the lost tribe. Just hold on to that for a little bit. During the war room prayers, we were in the midst of just praying about and decreeing and declaring regarding what's going on in the nation right now. Obviously, we all saw what happened on Tuesday night with the elections and everything else. We were really trying not to focus on just a political summary of things. We wanted to deal with what we saw was the background issue, the root issue of what's going on in the nation. And I believe it ties in with both of these revelations that the Lord gave me. The second one was kind of crazy as well. I simply asked the people for a second to just stop as we were praying, and I said, how many of you remember the movie Big? It was with Tom Hanks. It really kind of surprised me. Just about everybody around the table raised their hands and says, oh yeah, we remember that movie. That was a cute movie and all of that. Well, it was from 1988. Tom Hanks was one of the characters in it. And Penny Marshall, I think, was the director of it. It was very a cute movie. Very briefly, let me share what the movie was about for those of you that do not know the movie. It was simply called Big, B-I-G. After a wish turns 12-year-old Josh Baskin into a 30-year-old man, he heads to, interestingly, New York City and gets a low-level job at Macmillan Toy Company. A chance encounter with the owner of the company leads to a promotion testing new toys. Soon, a fellow employee, Susan Lawrence, takes a romantic interest in Josh. However, the pressure of living as an adult begins to overwhelm him, and he longs to return to his simple, former life as a boy. Now, I think what brought it to mind by the Spirit was my wife Kay and I had had a conversation. Actually, I had the first part and she filled in the blank. We were watching the early morning news on Wednesday regarding what had taken place with the elections. And when I kept on seeing the first name of the new mayor of New York City, that's another story, his name is Zoltan. And I said, I can't help this. Every time I see his name, I think of, and Kay, as a good wife of almost 52 years, said, Zoltan. We knew exactly what we were talking about. You see, in the movie Big, there is an arcade game, and it has a wizard-like looking character in it named Zoltan. And you put your money in, and you make your wish, and then you hit the button, and then it'll tell you if your wish was granted or saying sorry, bad luck, whatever, which usually is the answer. Well, little Josh Askins did the arcade game. He put his money in, and it came out and said, your wish has been granted. And he kind of laughed off. He said, yeah, sure it has been. And he goes home only to wake up the next morning in his little bed with his little jammies on as a 30-year-old man. Wow, what a crazy story. It was fun to watch. It was an interesting take on someone dreaming to be something else and yet at the end not really wanting to be something else. Well, why did the Lord bring that up to me? Because I believe that's what happened in New York City, the setting for Big. People were putting money into a person who was promising them everything. Their wishes could be granted. All you had to do is put money in. All you had to do is say, yes, I want to follow you. Yes to this, yes to that. Free this, free that. And Zoltan or Zoran granted their wish. In the midst of thinking through that and praying through it and decreeing it in our war room prayers yesterday morning, the Lord reminded me that in the story of Big, Josh eventually, in the midst of all that he had wished for, longed to be what he really was meant to be at that moment in life, a 12-year-old boy. And I really sensed what is going on is that people need to be brought to a realization, an enlightenment by the Spirit of God, a revelation from the Lord, that what He created them to be, and what He created our nation to be, what He created New York City to be, is not what Zoltan is offering or Mandami is offering. It's false. It's a false narrative. It won't provide what you really want as far as your destiny is concerned. You will find yourself in another world, in the midst of struggles, in the midst of things that are overwhelming to you, and were never a part of God's design for you. And I really believe that that's what's happened to the people that voted him in. And those people all across the nation that are believing in him and wishing that they could have him in their city. Well, you better be careful what you wish for, because more than likely it's going to be contrary to the design that God has for you. Well, what about the lost tribe? I said, Lord, I don't understand what you're telling me. And he simply said, there's one of the parties in this two-party system in our nation that is lost. Most of us recognize, I've been Republican all my life, but I also remember going back 50, 60 years, that Democrats back then are not the Democrats you have now. Matter of fact, I told the people this morning at War Room when we were having conversation, I said, I believe if someone like John F. Kennedy was running for president, he would be on the Republican ticket. Because the Democrat Party has gone so far off course, so far into the dark, so far into all the isms, and especially communism and socialism and all the other things, including Islam, that they've lost themselves. See, they put the money into Zoltan's pocket, and now they're lost. They may think that they're in the right path, but they're not. They may think that they are going to run the world, but they will not. And it's not about whether a Democrat or a Republican will run the world, but it's about whether Republicans and Democrats will come back to core beliefs that God is God, and that we are a Christian nation, and that we were founded on covenant roots with our Constitution and our Declaration of Independence, and that there was promises made and promises kept by the early founders, going all the way back to Robert Hunt on the beaches there of Virginia. I kept on thinking about that last night as I saw Virginia slipping away, and I'm thinking, y'all need to really get back to your roots. You really need to understand what took place in 1607 on the shoreline of your Commonwealth, because you have lost your way. You are like a lost tribe. You have no identity anymore. Your destiny is not what people probably intended your destiny to be. You were always for the working people. You were always for the unions. You were always for capitalism. You were always for those that needed a hand up, but not a hand out. We're not there anymore, or they aren't. As I said, the Republican Party is closer now to what that party used to be years ago, but we have also got our problems. The solution to all of these problems is quit feeding the arcade game. Quit feeding Zoltans. I don't care if you're Democrat or Republican. Quit feeding that. Seek the heart of God. Seek His presence. Seek His glory. Because He's the only one that holds your true destiny in His heart and desires with everything in Him to bring you to that destiny. Wow. We might want to be something that we're not right now, but you've got to be careful what you wish for, because ultimately you will want to come back and revisit God's destiny for your life. Well, blessings to all of you. Stay away from Zoltans, if you will. We'll be with you again tomorrow.